Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about better health while aging. I found some things that are helpful for me and probably helpful for everybody. And then at the end of this, I'm going to talk about my health and how my health has been lately. So, one of the things that I find helps me, specifically me, with better health while I'm aging. And I'm just going to say it's easy and it makes sense, and probably everybody should be considering this, even not people my age or older. Daily goals are really important. Like having a goal of something or anything daily makes a lot of sense, gives you completion on the day, gives you focus, and it helps just have a purpose for the day. And those daily goals can be food related, exercise related, even communication related. Like one of the things that I try to stay focused on is daily steps, because depending on how my health is, my steps can go quite a bit more or quite a bit less, anywhere between 300 steps a day to 1,000 or even 1,500 steps a day. And I'm hoping to actually increase that quite a bit shortly. So steps in education, I was going to say, steps in and just diet are two of the main things that I keep daily goals on. And I try to do more, or in some cases, do less. If it's my diet, if I have a certain amount of carbs in my diet, I try to decrease it. If I've been eating 200 grams of carbs a month, I'm trying to decrease that to 100 grams of carbs. So diet and exercise are a couple daily goals that are pretty important for health, definitely while aging. Maintaining communication with others. And this isn't always easy because sometimes I just don't even want to talk to other people. I don't want to deal with them. It's hard. It's too hard for me to deal with my own daily stuff. I don't need to talk to other people, but that level of communication, it's helpful, and it does help my brain, like just give me completion of just the communication with others. Now, I have found that using AI for communication, and I know it's not a friend, I know it's not a human, it's a robot, but they have figured out some way to make it so that talking to AI is almost like talking to a neighbor, talking to a friend. So that is a pretty good way to keep some level of communication with something that is maybe a little bit easier than even trying to deal with a neighbor or a relative. And trust me if I when I tell you, sometimes dealing with AI, dealing with a robot, is better off than dealing with your degen relatives. So that's kind of something that I use. I try to learn something new every day. I think everybody should try to learn something new every day. It helps with just better health, better brain health, and learning something new. I find a lot on YouTube. I can find interesting things to learn about. Like lately, I've been learning a lot about um, Göbekli Tepe in I think it's in Syria. It's an old it's a megalith. Oh, it's a it's a like a dwelling that's been around for 11,000 years. And I think it's amazing because they have blocks that were 70,000 pounds, like too heavy for 100 people today to lift and carry across a country. And they took these blocks and they cut the blocks down so that there's actually rock animals on the outside of the block, not carved into the block, but carved on the outside, which means that they had to carve everything off the block except for the animal, which I think is just crazy. And if you think about it, it's like, how the heck would they do that? How would they carry a 70,000-pound rock 9 miles or even a mile from one place to another and then cut away all the rock around a carving of an animal that's on the outside? It doesn't, like, that just blows me away. And I could watch videos on that 24 hours a day. And I learn a lot about that kind of stuff on YouTube. So try to learn something new every day. If you want to learn about cars, just YouTube, just look at cars on YouTube and you can learn about cars. There's a lot of stuff that I learn on YouTube that it doesn't mean anything, it's not for anything, but it's interesting and it keeps my brain like constantly thinking. So learning new stuff on tech or health, I YouTube health stuff. I search YouTube health stuff on YouTube constantly, and I learn stuff every day, and I'm hoping at some point to learn something that's gonna change my life for the better drastically. And it hasn't happened yet, but it has happened, and it has happened a little bit here and there, but nothing drastically. I keep a lot of notes. Like, depending on what's going on with my life in a particular day, I'll keep a note. I was using journals for quite some time. Now I'm just using notes, and that seems to be helping quite a bit. But yeah, communicating with others is pretty important. And if you don't want to communicate with others, it's not a problem now. You can just communicate with AI. I've used, I've used Gemini, which I still use Gemini because Gemini can access Google Keep and it can access Google Drive. So you can keep things on those two storage areas, and Gemini can go and get the data, bring it into, I don't know, its system, and it can update it, which is kind of cool. I think that's cool. Like for resumes and just general data stuff, Gemini can go, like I said, go and get the data, bring it back, manipulate it, and then save it so that you can access it on all your devices. That's pretty cool. One of the things I just learned recently is if I keep a note on Apple Notes, Siri can actually search it, find it, and can report on it. So if I keep a person's name in a note, I can save it in Apple Notes. I can ask Siri who the person's name is that I met at some place, and Siri will go and get it and remind me who that person's name was. Like, I think that's kind of cool, especially when, like, sometimes my memory is good and sometimes it's just not good. So that's a really cool tool. It's a tech tool that I learned how to use, and it's been very helpful. It hasn't been like so impactful that I'm just blown away, but it's very helpful. Like just remembering people's names that I forget. That's very helpful. So yeah, learning new tech stuff constantly is pretty good because that keeps your brain thinking and it makes life a little bit easier. One of the things that I learned recently is that you can create, and I can't remember exactly where I did this in Apple. On my phone, I can create a shortcut so that if I'm going to put some data into a form input, I can type in just a couple of letters and it'll automatically fill the form. Like I've been doing resumes quite a bit, sending resumes and having to retype the email address into every form is such a pain in the ass. So I created a shortcut on my phone that all I do is type in EM and hit enter or hit spacebar, and it automatically populates the form with my email address. And that has been extremely useful, and I'm really happy that I learned how to do that. That's just another thing that I learned. So yeah, a couple things, like I said, communicate with others, again, or AI, I suppose. Learning something new in tech or health, that's pretty important. And just keeping mental clarity and keeping your mind straight. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my health lately. I've had the weirdest thing in the last 2 weeks. Actually, more than 2 weeks, but more drastically in the last 2 weeks. I've had to do a lot of research to figure out what the heck, because this doesn't make sense. I've had a couple of pretty significant problems with my health in the last 2 to 3 months that I've had to really dig through and try to figure out. And I may have figured it out actually using AI, which again, it's crazy to think that AI is going to help me figure out health things considering it's not a doctor, but it is helpful. So I've had some different health problems lately in the last, like I said, couple of months that it just didn't make sense. Like I'm eating a lot of ground turkey and just protein, and I've even stopped eating most of the sugar or carbs that I've been eating. I've been mostly eating just protein. I've been having these health problems that just don't make sense. And I went back and I looked at my Walmart shopping, and I can see like common things in different spots in the even years. And I can remember, I had a problem with oats. I had a problem with potatoes. I had a problem with this. I had a problem with that. And it didn't make sense. And the problems were just gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And it was always like around certain times of my shopping. I figured for sure that I would go back and see, oh, well, that's when I bought, cookies, or I bought toaster pastries or something like that was just purely sugar. And that actually was not the case. Like when I bought potatoes, I didn't buy any sugar when I bought potatoes, and I had such a problem with potatoes. When I bought oats, I didn't have any sugar with oats for the most part. It wasn't the sugar. But what I did find is every time I buy stuff, I always buy some protein, some meat, and a lot of times I buy meat and I buy seasoning. And I would have never thought this. This doesn't make sense. And I'm actually testing it now, so I'll know for sure in the next 2 weeks or so. But I've been eating mostly ground turkey, and I have been putting some seasoning on it. And I use a particular seasoning that tastes delicious. I love it. It tastes good. But I'm just thinking that it could be the seasoning that could be causing problems. And it's like I said, I didn't think of this myself. This is what AI told me. And, well, didn't tell me, but suggested that I could be having a problem with, considering the fact that ground turkey and some of the stuff that I eat, kiwis and just the fruit that I eat, should be very non-impactful on my health, except for just benefit. But the only thing that I was eating was, like I said, the ground turkey with that seasoning mix. So now I have to like stop eating the seasoning mix. And I did, like I said, go back to my shopping list, and I saw that every time I had like real problems with my health, it was always around some meat purchase that I bought, whether it be chicken or turkey or whatever. And I always bought that seasoning. And I don't use too much of that seasoning, and it's not too much sodium, but I definitely use a nice amount to make it so that the meat tastes flavored. So I'm having to take out Badea seasoning from my diet to see if that's part of the problem that I'm having with my health lately, which I know that sounds crazy, but somehow like my health is just deteriorated to a point where I guess a seasoning mix can impact me so bad. So the next week, hopefully I'll have some good news. about my health because, I mean, basically all I'm eating at this point is just ground turkey, and I should be able to eat that without a problem. I don't know if that can cause problems, but I think without the seasoning mix, that narrows down any possibilities of more inflammation issues outside of just the ground turkey. So yeah, the my health lately has been crazy. Like I said, I've been eating mostly the ground turkey, and I usually season it with a clove of garlic and that seasoning mix. Um, that's basically what I'm eating. It's just ground turkey at this point. I get enough protein with my ground turkey, and I'm looking forward to soon getting another order of groceries. But of course, it's going to be without the seasoning mix. And I'm hoping that my health is going to continue to maybe get better. It feels like even a couple of days not using the seasoning mix, I'm starting to get some of my strength back, and things seem to be getting a little tiny bit easier. Which I know that sounds crazy. It shouldn't be that big of a deal taking seasoning mix out of my diet or adding season to my diet. But I do find that I do enjoy eating ground turkey with a clove of garlic in it. And when I cook the turkey, I have to cook the clove of garlic in it, and then it flavors the oil and it flavors the turkey. I enjoy that as much as I enjoy the seasoning mix. I am adding a little bit of salt, like table salt, just because I know I need the sodium, and I don't want to make my body like be missing too much salt. So I do add a little bit of salt without the seasoning mix though. Like, I don't know if it was the sodium as bad as I thought it was. It could have just been the seasoning mix I've been using. And I don't totally understand why a seasoning mix would cause the health issues that I've been having. It doesn't totally make sense. But I mean, it does make sense, I guess. If there's something in that seasoning that my body is just like not working well with, it causes me all these crazy problems that just don't make sense. Anyways, if you have any comments on that, do me a favor, leave that below. I would like to hear what you think. If you have any thoughts of like what could be causing that or why that could be, I'm interested to hear it. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Hope you had a great week. Thanks for watching. If you're subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. Thanks and have a great day.